All right. So, welcome back to the Witching Hour. I am your host, Leviathan. You can catch the show here every night at 8:45 p.m. Mountain Time. We actually usually start at 9. I just kind of open the stage up early so that people can show up, get comfortable. You can go to Leviathan, AltSpaceVR on YouTube, and you'll see the channel right away. So far, there's only a couple videos up. It takes almost a whole fucking day just to upload one video. But they're coming, so I do have a couple of them that I did upload. So it's just a matter of getting it on the channel and putting a description. Last night's discussion, I think, was pretty good. We had a great turnout. There's a lot of people in the audience that contributed their stories about ghosts and extraterrestrials. Forgot his name. Oh, Captain Rand. Captain Rand. He had an interesting story about extraterrestrials, and I had a guest appear, Darth Sarcasm. She's great. She has a scientific background in chemistry, and she was interjecting her 2 cents here and there. Coming from an analytical background, I found her input very refreshing, very valuable, providing just an alternative perspective to these types of things. It was great. There was a discourse among the audience. Towards the end, there was a gentleman who showed up who was very adamant in his beliefs. Ironically, he was a non-believer, but he was very adamant in his belief in nothing. So I found that a little ironic. And the guy who he was talking to was a Christian guy. I welcome everybody in my show, Christian or not. And I just I found it not a meaningful discussion. It wasn't a constructive back and forth, unfortunately. And but I allowed them to say their piece. And the point of the show is not to convert anybody's opinions. I've said this before, and we just want to exchange ideas and consider other perspectives that we wouldn't otherwise. And it's really hard to do, I think. Nowadays, people, you disagree with somebody or somebody disagrees with you, and it's kind of like, well, fuck you, I'm not going to listen to anything you say. And that's the end of it, and that's kind of sad. But it's nice to think that what you see here is what you get. So there's probably a lot of us in the audience that would probably never associate with each other in real life because people do create prejudices and biases based on appearance, based on just stupid little things. But when you look at us now, there's only so much to choose from, and so I think the barrier comes down. It's very easy to go back and forth, and that's just the way people are. Unfortunately, that's the way people think. I don't think cognitive bias is an error in thinking. I just think that's the way people are made naturally, and I just think for the most part, you can bypass that by not subscribing to popular opinions, not being too quick to jump the gun on your judgment. And this is a great way to practice that because you get to just hear people. You don't really get to see them. And so one part of your judgment is completely isolated. You just get to hear stories and connect the dots in your own world and see if it makes sense for you. And if it does, then you can go in your 2 cents. And it's great. We can go back and forth that way. So I like the structure of VR, and I think it melts nicely with the show. So on the bottom right, you will see the raise hand option. Feel free to click on that, and I will go to you one by one, and we can talk about anything you guys want to talk about, really. So far, I've covered the subject of death. We've covered what happens after death. I've covered economics, one of my favorite topics to talk about. We've talked about technology. Paulina brought up a great topic about the design of the universe, kind of like the outcome behind VR. You take off your headset, who's the designer? A lot of people will say God. A lot of people will say your consciousness. Maybe it's aliens. who designed the reality that you live in? Maybe it's not what it seems. Maybe it's a program. Maybe it's something. There's something more than what we see. Obviously, we probably wouldn't be self-aware enough to realize the reality of it. But it's interesting to think about. It's thought-provoking, definitely. So I'm going to open up the show real quick by bringing your attention over to this picture over here. Again, I do this every beginning of the show. There is a picture hidden behind that, and I want you to pick up on that picture. Don't try to think about what it is. Just try to feel it out. Just the first thing that pops into your head. You guys are familiar with that. At the end of the show, we'll reveal what that is. It's always going to be an image. It's never going to be words, so that should help you out just a little bit. And with that, you'll notice this unfortunate YouTube screen. I don't know what you guys see. Apparently, it's just a YouTube page. What I see is 9 Inch Nails, the full album called Ghosts. And I can hear it if I play it, and I can see the video, but nobody else can. And I was under the impression you guys could. Last night I tried to test this out, and apparently it worked. However, for some reason, it's not working right now, and I don't know why. And that's too bad, because I really wanted to show you guys demonstration videos of whatever topic we happen to choose. I know I've shown videos before, and unfortunately did not record those videos. But I've shown videos of poltergeist activity, and some of it is really, really interesting. One of them, for example, I'm sure some of you have seen this. A lady got pushed down or something like, or she got knocked out, something like that. And you see the chairs, you see the table kind of moving. So if it's a special effect, if it's fake, it's done very well. And she seems to be alone. It genuinely seems very creepy. There's a lot of videos online that could be fake, but this one seemed very genuine to me. But who knows? It was interesting enough to see. Let's see. Pat Pan, you have the megaphone.
Hey, I talked to you a few weeks ago, I think, about a video. It was Shadow Dude. Did you ever get to watch that video?
Yeah, Shadow Dude. So I want to ask, because I did actually go online, is Shadow Dude a channel, or is that the name of the video?
No, it's what he calls the ghost. The spirit that's in the house.
I totally forgot. I thought he was either Shadow Guy or Shadow Dude. And I know there's both. There's a Shadow Guy, and so between those two, I didn't know what videos to click on. But yeah, I did. I look it up online.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. That's one of those ones that makes you think.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, shadow people is something, for example, that I have no experience in. I think that the people who have spoken about this, such as Adam, he's a community helper here, great guy, really great guy. He's got extensive experience with these shadow people. I had another regular in here. Her name was, I think, Anna Blue. Yeah, I think that was it. She was describing the Hat Man. And we were able to see videos on these topics, and it was interesting. It was very interesting. But I've never had experiences with that kind of stuff before, so I really can't give a comment on that other than saying that, yeah, it's possible, just like anything else. But Captain Wren last night was talking about aliens. I don't have any direct experience with extraterrestrials, at least not to my knowledge or memory. But I definitely feel, one of the few times I can say that I do believe that extraterrestrials exist. And even my guest, very analytical last night, very great personality. She had a chemistry background, and as my special guest, she also agreed that it would be arrogant to assume that we are the only life forms throughout the whole universe,
Even
especially the universe. I mean, this.
have a part of it dedicated to extraterrestrials now.
Yeah.
Look it up.
You know, I think
Even they've admitted that there's more than likely that it's hard to believe that we're alone out there.
yeah, I would highly doubt that we are the only ones in the universe, even in the galaxy, I should say, to be honest, because I've never traveled outside
You ever
of
played the
Earth.
game, Megaton Rainfall?
I have not, no.
It
Can you
gives
explain that to me for a bit?
perspective on how tiny we are. Because you're able to basically explore infinite galaxies and just explore space, but it's not, obviously, it's just a continuum. It keeps going, you find different solar systems and explore different things and just land on a planet and feel like a superhero. It's really cool. You take on spaceships.
So, I'm sorry, what is it called again?
Megaton Rainfall. I think
Megaton.
it's only VR for PlayStation. I'm not sure exactly, but it's a really good perspective game when it comes to like how small the planet is, or in the universe.
Megaton Rainfall.
You're able to just go and land on the moon and like look at the Earth from the moon, or even go stand on the surface of the sun, and it gives you like a sound effect of like basically the emptiness of space, kind of. It gives you a good feeling of like how alone feeling it is out in outer space, but how like vast it is.
Yeah, I put a video a while back about the frequencies that certain planets vibrate on, and those frequencies actually make sounds. And I remember playing that video for some of you guys, and they were really awesome, I think, especially Saturn. I remember Saturn, I think. They have real spacey sounds to them. Some of them were very predictable and very awesome to find out that it's not science fiction. These things actually make noise, and it's pretty cool. I encourage you guys to check that out on YouTube. Just look up planet sounds or space sounds. It's really trippy. Some of them sound very, like just very, like if you can picture a void and there's an echo going on in the void. I can't explain it, but some of it's very creepy, actually. Very awesome. But before we move on, I wanted to say that we were talking a little bit here, Adam, about shadow people. And I did mention to the audience that you do have extensive experience with shadow people. And it's definitely a subject that is recurring. I noticed that it's a very recurring theme in the witching hour is the subject of shadow people. And I only wish I had more, well, maybe I don't know, but I don't have experience with shadow people, but you do. And to those in the audience, real quick, can you just explain just a little bit more about what shadow people could be?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Well, actually,
yeah,
like, I'm actually curious because I always like to ask this in every show of yours. Who has seen shadow people? If you have, just raise your hand.
If you've seen shadow people, just raise your hand like this with the emoji.
Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah. Interesting, because I find it's such a common topic, you know? So.
Yeah. But basically, they're just negative energies. They can be, a lot of times they show up when you're sleeping because that's the most time you're actually resting and you're not really active. So that's the time where they kind of like hover over you. And unfortunately, they can suck up your energy, which is very common. And, growing up, I've seen these things since I was little. And you kind of just learn to live with them. But because you are stronger, you have a stronger energy than they do, all you have to do is simply say, get out, I'm sleeping, you're not supposed to be here, you need to leave. And most of the time they leave. So, but yeah, they're just really just negative energy and just sometimes they're ETs where, they're coming from another dimension or space. You were talking about space earlier.
Mm.
And, we're living beings, whereas we can't be. There has to be something up there. So if they can travel here in any form, it could be them. That's another possibility. It could just be them just coming from another, planet or galaxy or whatever. So
yeah, it's not unreasonable to assume that could be the case. Absolutely. I mean, as far as us having objective proof, it's kind of hard to determine, but the possibility still exists. And like I said, all experience is real, and so I think extraterrestrials are definitely something that could be suppressed in the news, could be suppressed, but there's tons of videos. I don't know if you guys have bothered to look up these videos or not. There's stuff in the sky that people have filmed with fucking potatoes, but I mean that testifies to the authenticity, I think, of the videos. I mean, give me a sec here because I can barely. Hold on, let me give you the megaphone over there. Sorry, let me give you the megaphone here so that we can all hear you. Give me a sec. There we go. Sorry, go ahead. What was that?
Okay, maybe if we could look at the most simplest thing, Achman's razor, that you're coming out of a dream maybe, or you're in a different state of mind since you're coming out. Wouldn't you think that would be more of a hallucination of your brain? I mean, wouldn't that be the most Achman razor point instead of shadow people? Something, I'm not saying that you're not having an experience. What I'm saying is that to say that it might be something supernatural is a huge leap instead of saying that it could be something more simple, like, you're waking up and your brain's a little foggy and what you perceive as time is happening when you think you've been awoke for a long time is where you're just waking up. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying the most simplest and direct thing would be that, that you're hallucinating and that's what's happening.
It's fair to assume
it's a huge leap to go to something supernatural when you even admitted yourself that you said this happens the majority of the time when you're just asleep or falling asleep or coming out of sleep. Well, your brain hallucinates when you're sleeping. It has to have input. It has to see stuff, and that's why you do dream.
Well,
of course, I know you guys probably agree or disagree with that.
Well, the thing, I didn't say that I was going to sleep, did I?
Well, you said it happens at night. Now, if you go back and listen, you did say that when it happens at night or just before you're going to sleep, or
right.
So that means that you're probably going. Yeah, that means that you're trying to close your eyes and go and sleep, and then just when you're going to sleep, it happens, and you think you're awake, but actually you're going into REM. You're actually going into an altered state, and your brain's hallucinating, and that's what's happening.
I can understand that if that happens.
That's the simplest thing. Or we could take that person, something supernatural is happening.
Okay.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I can understand that happening maybe a few times.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had this happen since I was probably like 6 or 7.
You might have a condition.
I don't know if you're a medical doctor to say that.
No, I'm not. I'm saying no, but I don't need to be a medical doctor to say you might have something wrong with you.
Well,
I don't know if you do or not. I don't know if you do it or not. I'm just saying.
Well,
I'm
let me
also
interject here.
So I would hope not to be medically.
I'm going to interject for a moment here. This is the thing. As I've said, all experience is real, whether or not it is objectively verifiable, objectively measurable by science or whatnot. The point is, your subconscious mind, if the little thing in your pineal gland responsible for it, if you will, from a scientific perspective, your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is not. All experience is real. Okay, all all reaction to these experiences is real. Okay, so that reaction in itself has been responsible for people dying in their sleep. It is possible to die in your sleep. It is possible to get scared to death in a haunted house, at a movie. These things have happened in your sleep from nightmares. These things have happened. Now, a dream can't kill you, right? No, but your mind does not know the difference between reality and fantasy. Your conscious mind does. Your conscious mind is the one that says, well, this is bullshit. But your subconscious mind is responsible for your breathing. It's responsible for everything else that you do not have control over. And so I feel that as a very powerful mechanism in your perception, it goes without saying that it doesn't really matter then whether or not these things are perceived to be real, they're not real, or they're blatantly real, because your reaction to these experiences is real. And that's really where so-called magic takes place. That's where the paranormal takes place. That's where the majority of all these things take place, is in your subconscious awareness. So with that, I think it's a moot point to say, well, this is fake, this isn't real, this is not objectively verifiable. I always encourage you guys to come from a true position of neutrality, whether you're a non-believer or a believer. Always come from a position of neutrality. And as I've said, the only way to cultivate true reason is to consider opposing views. And I highly encourage that in everybody. Always question your reality. Don't just assume, well, this is absolute. This is how it really is. Don't always assume that, because you could be mistaken. There could be more than what you know. There could be more than what meets the eye. There always is a possibility. Okay, so I'm just wanting you to acknowledge that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the audience really quick. Extra bass, you have the megaphone.
Yeah, so what I always find interesting is is that people will describe almost to a T exact same experiences. These are people who've never you've had audience members raise their hands here who've seen shadow people, and they all explain them the exact same way.
Right.
And, I've had a friend of mine explain to me that he saw the man with the dark hat, and the explanation he gave me was almost to a T what we talked about in the show. And it wasn't until I heard about it in the show that we were that they went to, hey, dude, this is a thing. You're not the only one who's seen this. So it's not just like it's one person. It's not just Adam here who's seen these shadow people. It's unless it's people are seeing it the exact same way almost every time.
Now, as far as, let me touch on this real quick. As far as it being a condition, Pharaoh, you did mention that it's possible that this could be a condition, a disease or whatnot. Let me ask you, what disease makes you see shadow people? Because let's flip the coin all the way around and assume that it's schizophrenia. Why is it that there are no other hallucinations other than these shadow people? Is it possible that these shadow entities, whatever they are, could be something that science has not yet either discovered or explained? Is that a possibility? I just want to know if it's a possibility in your point of view. I just want to know, is it possible that it is something else other than what science could explain as it being a disease or whatnot? I'm going to give you the megaphone for a moment.
Well, I think it can be possible. There could be right now a teapot circling around the sun. That could be possible. But you know what we say to ourselves? You know what? It's probably not a Chinese teapot circling around the sun. I'm probably 99.99999, but I can't get to the last point. You know why? Because you can never say that anything is impossible. So, but you can say, well, insurance, yeah, I think to this certain extent. Now, to give you a little background on me, I'm a professional magician. That's what I do for a living. I know how to fool people, all right? I know how to make people see things that aren't there. I know how to make objects disappear. I can know how to make you hypnotize. I can hypnotize you. I heard when I came in the other day and I popped out because I had a problem with my headset. You were talking about Howie Mandel, and I don't know, you said about hypnotists.
Mm-hmm.
I've have hypnotized people. I have put in them under. I've put in where I put $20 bills on the ground and put their hand on the table and make them where they can't move. These are all tricks. These are all things that the mind can be controlled, and you can make the mind see what it wants to see. Okay,
Gotcha.
and I know how to do it. And listen, buddy. Anything's possible, but the odds are really very, very, very low.
Gotcha.
And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you want hope, if it makes you happy, believing in that, that's fine. Whatever makes you happy. But I'm saying your brain can be tricked, and it's getting tricked all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Most definitely, there is such thing as everything being possible. However, is it probable? Perhaps not. But as far as believing in stuff, I've always advocated to come from a position of neutrality, not to believe anything, because of that 0.9999%. You can't go all the way because of possibility. Again, probability is one thing, but possibility. You fucking douchebag. I hate when people do that shit. So the possibility is always present. Okay, but again, probability will say otherwise. But it's like I was saying, instead of believing in anything, because when you believe in something, you're giving it faith that it exists instead of verifying it for yourself to know whether or not it actually does exist. When you have faith, you can't have knowledge. Because if you have knowledge, then you don't have to believe in it anymore. You know that it's real. All experience is real. And when you start telling yourself the truth about your own experiences, you start questioning your reality and start questioning whether or not people are experiencing the same reality you're experiencing. It opens up a whole door of perception that is not conventional. And people should be operating more possibility versus probability. Because, I know what you're talking about, being a magician. All right, I myself know a thing or two about card magic and stuff like that. Mentalism is more my field, and so I am familiar with hypnotism, but I'm not going to toot my own horn or talk about myself in that way. But I do want to tell you that I am familiar with that myself. And the goal isn't exactly to fool people, but my goal when I do stuff like that is to encourage thought. It's more fun though. Life's more fun when you can question what if. Because when you take away the possibility that it could be something more, it kills the magic, it kills the mood, it kills all that stuff. But as far as things make me happy, no, I don't believe in stuff. I either know that it's real or not. The only thing that I've mentioned so far that I do believe in is the possibility of not being alone in the universe. That's that I concede and say, hey, well, that's something I do give faith into. We're probably not alone in the universe. So I do want to just clarify that point for a moment. Extra bass, megaphone, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I had nothing else.
Okay, no problem. All right, let's see here. All right, so actually, I just want to ask you real quick, what you've heard so far. What do you feel? Because if it's not a disease, if it's not something that science can explain, because if it was something like schizophrenia, hypothetically speaking, it's schizophrenia, right? So why does it just manifest in shadow people? Schizophrenia presents itself as a lot of hallucinations, auditory, visual, all that good stuff. And you flip the coin all the way around, you come to find that schizophrenia defines shadow people. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, what else could it possibly? I've never heard of a condition, a medical condition. I'm a doctor, but I've never heard of a medical condition where shadow people is the symptom. Mm-hmm. Seeing shadow people is the symptom. there is such thing as paranoia, but that's not the same as seeing shadow people. So I want to know your experience, because you do have extensive experience with shadow people. Tell me what you feel is the best. I've asked you this before, and you say that it could be other entities. It's possible that they could be other dimensional beings. They could be ETs, that kind of stuff. Out of all of these possibilities, which one is most likely? If you have to just pick one.
Yeah, I personally think it's like a spirit, honestly.
A spirit, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then and to also add that too, because as a pilot, we have to get medically certified every year. We have to get, we get through mental tests and physical tests and stuff like that. And I have told my psychiatrist about these shadow people for since I was a pilot for 12 years. And he's like, oh, okay. So, and he said that he's actually heard of, people talking about these shadow people too during the night, or even just when they're walking and they see like a shadow on the side, or walking by. So it seems to be very common. So, if it was something medically or, schizo or something, they wouldn't allow me to fly. That's one thing. So
you've been evaluated then medically speaking.
Right.
You have been given an evaluation. See, so that gives more credibility to this phenomenon that you experienced, I think. And I think that's important to note, that you have been seen professionally. So there could be more to the story than what conventional wisdom tells you. Shadow people could be, because a lot of people have had these experiences, and it's not a mass hallucination. It's not I don't think it's a cognitive bias either, because so many people's experience is the same. These are people who have never met each other, but they are describing very similar experiences, very similar beings. And I mean, you mentioned shadow people. Well, they only look like shadows, so that is another possibility to consider. However, in the context of where these shadow people are encountered is also very important. You say that you've encountered these shadow people in between a state of being very tired. I mean, tell me more about when exactly you experience the majority of these shadow people.
Well, so it's probably like before. Okay, so once I lay down, I usually read a book before I go to sleep. I have the light on. That's when I see them.
Okay.
And it's not when I go to sleep. It's not when I have the light off most of the time.
Okay.
It's during that time where I'm relaxed and concentrating on something else, and all of a sudden these figures are just like either hovering over me or on the side of my bed. I'm so used to it by now. I'm just like out, just get out. And and I was telling you, I was clairvoyant too. So, ever since I was little, I can sense energies and sense these spirits and retrieve these names, that come in my head. So to me, it's my beliefs as far as like the third eye, where everyone has that ability to sense these things. And a lot of times we lose those abilities because when we grow up, we're taught like everyone else is taught. We have the same education. We have to learn this in history. We have to learn that. So everyone is taught the same thing. So we kind of lose that third eye. But in practice, you open up your third eye, and that's when you can actually start seeing, objects or people, that have passed on. So
definitely, I want to have you consider one thing over here, Pharaoh, because I find your opinion interesting as well. That I want to just lend you a piece of perspective here that I've said many times before in my show, that children, for example, they operate on the subconscious, right? Because they're not able to tell the difference between reality and fantasy, these types of things. And so growing up, they have these vivid imaginations. Whenever they reach a certain age and beyond, that kind of diminishes and their conscious mind takes over. So they're able to, perceive the world around them the way I guess most of us could. I know we don't all perceive reality the same way, but my point is as a young person, a child, your subconscious mind is really what drives you to do everything, pretty much. Everything you do, everything you say as a kid, that is very self-evident. Is it possible to assume also that people, you idiot. So is it possible to assume also that there are adults out there that still manage to engage their subconscious mind enough to become aware of these paranormal phenomena? That, as you said, you admit that that is a possibility. And in the world of mentalism, I am familiar with the trickery side of things like clairvoyance. I'm not saying clairvoyance is a trick, but I'm saying you can something like that, and that is something I do know how to do. In the speaking strictly of magic and mentalism, however, there are people that I feel are genuinely clairvoyant in the fact that they're able to engage their intuition fully. I'm sure you've been able to, coincidentally, I should say, predict who's calling you on the phone, predict what song is about to come up next, picturing what someone's about to say, without it being a calculated guess, just a random intuitive phenomenon. And so I feel that that's something worth considering. And I'm just curious about your opinion of that. Again, the goal is not to convert anybody's opinion. We're just exchanging ideas and really trying to look at other points of view. So with that, I'll go to you here in a minute. Pan, you do have your hand up here. Let me give you the megaphone for a moment.
Yeah, on the topic of the children with sensing, I was watching my roommate's kid at one point, and their neighbor below had committed suicide in their apartment complex. I was watching their daughter one night, and she kept freaking out, pointing into their bedroom, just pointing into the bedroom. She followed behind me. She had to be about 3 at the time. And I was getting freaked out because I kept sensing weird things in the apartment at the time just because of knowing what happened. I don't know if it was just, like you were saying, self-conscious and like knowing the fact of what happened below, that a woman had committed suicide a few days before or whatever it was. And here she was acting just like oddly and pointing behind a door, frightened about nothing. And I was even trying to show her that was nothing, but she was still acting frightened about whatever it was. And I can even talk about weird things about my own daughter, because she would dance around in the living room with nothing, pointing up at the ceiling in our place. And my wife, she has ashes of her grandmother's in our house, and she always talked about how a possibility of maybe she's dancing with grandma or playing with grandma.
What is reality? That's a great question, because these children that perceive reality much differently than we do are living in a world where most adults cannot really perceive what's going on in their mind. We can't see their imagination unless we really try to tune in. I can compare it to, again, trying to tune out the static on a radio, just trying to get the right frequency. It's possible that you can, with practice, maybe even tune into exactly what it is they're experiencing. The mind is very powerful, and it's not unreasonable to assume that at least two minds, can connect and see what each other is seeing. I mean, these are things that I wish would take place on a grand scale. You know, I wish science would pursue this more seriously. Unfortunately, once it gets labeled as pseudoscience, or what have you, it paints a prejudice over it, this bias that is immediately dismissed by the mainstream, and that's such a shame. But hopefully that'll change eventually, because I would like to see more progress in this field. Pharaoh, go ahead. You have the megaphone.
Okay. You kind of said a lot there, and I'm going to try and package some of this. First, some things you're saying that are correct. The kids with magic and all that, kids do not know an impossibility until they're after 6. That's why you can take a coin in your hand and you say to the little kid, watch it disappear. He goes, yeah, it's gone. And he's not impressed because you know why? Because he doesn't know an impossibility. Now, when the kid gets past 6 years old and I do something, he knows it's impossible for that coin to disappear. Now, if we're saying Miles, do I get your name right? Captain Adam? Is it Captain? If we're saying that Captain Adam over there had the brain of a 6-year-old. I don't think so. By the way he's talking, I think he's more intelligent than that. And as for his doctor, his psychiatrist he's seeing and everything, I think as this psychiatrist feels a little sorry for him and wants him to keep his job so he can keep on paying to see him. And you were just saying that you were sitting there reading a book before you go to sleep. How do you know that you didn't fall asleep? I mean, I don't know when I fall asleep when I'm doing something. And you're right there. You say you're getting ready to go to sleep. You're reading a book and all this stuff happens. I'm just pointing out the obvious, that it's more likely that you're falling asleep and you're seeing the shadow people than it is that supernatural beings coming in your room. For what reason he's coming to see you, I have no idea. And why he's coming to see you. You know, I mean, it's just more likely that you're having an experience where you're falling asleep and you're thinking. I'm not saying you're not seeing it. I'm just saying you're in a sleep mode. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be mean towards you or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm looking at the most obvious. That's it.
Well, the most obvious isn't always the most correct. Let me interject for a moment before I pass it on to Adam so he can respond to that. Let me elaborate and clarify very clearly here that an adult's intelligence is not going to be gauged by his or her ability to engage his or her subconscious. That's not what I stated at all. What I meant to say, without it being misinterpreted, is that an adult can engage his or her subconscious with practice. There's meditation techniques that allow you to be mindful of your awareness, allow you to be mindful of your environments. And that's not a childish thing. I'm saying that children operate, for the most part, on a subconscious level. But an adult that can also be in tune with his subconscious does not equate to immaturity in any way. So I just want to clarify that point just for a moment. Adam, let me give you the megaphone here for a moment. Oh, actually, you do have it already.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, and then with the whole psychiatrist thing, you know, so it's an FAA certified psychiatrist. It's not just a psychiatrist you just get off the street. So they honestly have no problem with grounding you at all. It's their job to make sure you're mentally fit and that you can fly a plane without thinking that you're going to go crazy and go nuts and crash the plane. That's their job. Okay, so it's not about money at all. It's about the safety of passengers. Let's make that clear. Okay, so with that, sorry, I just got a little upset by that. Just
No, that's fine. I'll come back to you. I just wanted to clarify again that the subconscious mind is very powerful, and you shouldn't underestimate it as an adult, because it's still there, no matter how much you consciously try to block it out by having the common sense view of reality. It's okay to be, having a common sense view, but there still exists the subconscious. All right, you're still breathing, not consciously. You don't have to think about it for it to happen. It just happens. It's just there. All right, so I'd hate to think that, Pharaoh, the magic for you is gone. And what I mean by that is you are a magician. You do this for children, and you create a world of magic for them. However, when you got into magic, when you first saw it as a child, I can imagine you were filled with wonder and amazement, and magic was real to you at one point. And I'd hate to think that the child inside is gone because of your conscious awareness of reality. I think that, and I'm not trying to convert you, and I'm not trying to put you down or anything. I'm just trying to say that I'd hate to think that there is no possibility that magic could still exist. I'm a big advocate on the reality of magic, not just card magic. I'm talking about the real magic, being able to change events in reality in accordance to your will. I feel that that is something that is real. I know that is something that is real to me because I've experienced this myself. I've done things and I've talked to other people who have had similar experiences. But you tell this to somebody, you tell this to a scientist or somebody who's a skeptic, and they're going to say, well, you're full of shit. You know, there's no way. I mean, science can't explain that. You know, and I don't have a degree in science. I'm not a scientist myself. But let me give you an analogy before we move on. We all drive, most. You don't have to be a mechanic to know how to drive a car. You just know that the fucking thing works. And I can only give it the same explanation when it comes to magic and the subconscious. It just fucking works. I don't know how. It just does. Test it out. Don't believe me, though. I don't want anyone to believe me. I want you to go out, test this shit out, and find out for yourself if it is real. So let me see. Let me go on to Darth Marv. You are next in line. Go ahead.
Hey, Darth Maven.
Maven.
So there's actually a very thin line between science and magic. So I follow a lot of string theory, and my personal belief is that we all came from a black hole, which is there's science behind it. But anyway, with that being said, I feel that we're in a war right now for our conscious awareness. So with my beliefs, that there possibly is such thing as death, but it might not necessarily happen right after your body is destroyed. So there's still just awareness. So now there's a group of people, I'll just use the term elites, that know this and want to destroy your consciousness. So what they do to destroy your conscious awareness is try to confuse you, because that's the best way to get rid of your conscious awareness altogether. So we're fighting a war trying to keep our conscious, so when these bodies do go, we could still have, I'd say, you could say a fourth dimension experience. But we fight with small things like eating foods, bad foods, and different things in the air, that there's things that are polluting us, that it's blocking us from being able to open our subconscious mind the way we would really like to.
You know, there's stuff that exists in foods that really does not have to be there, but it's there for no other reason, I feel, than to capitalize on your health problems. There's a lot of things in your food, your preservatives, and of course, in order to market and feed the mass majority of people, there has to be preservatives. However, you'd think in the year 2020, they'd come up with something that is more bio-friendly, I guess I should say. You would think that there'd be more consideration for people's health. And it's kind of scary to think that it's all a big conspiracy. It's all a big scheme, big money-making scheme. And that's a very, very big possibility. And I tend to lean more towards that possibility only because you take cancer, for example, 1 in 2 people will get or will know somebody who has cancer. Everybody in this audience has a 50-50 chance to encounter cancer in their lifetime. That's pretty fucked up because you take going back into maybe what the 1920s, the 1800s, and so on and so forth. Cancer was not common. All right, so now we have electromagnetic fields, waves, microwave frequencies. We have all kinds of shit that basically bombard us. And I digress. I'm just trying to say that, yes, there are things out there that are, I think, just serve the only purpose of capitalizing on your health problems. And they do, I think, attack your subconscious awareness. I think it's could be an attempt to maybe weaken our potentials. That's a possibility. And it's pretty shitty to think that that's what's actually going on. Pat Pan, you do have the megaphone. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna back up. What is it? Him over here, and because I work in aviation myself, and I know how strict they can be, and the AP mechanics or anybody that works in the phone and like any department like that would be strict within 24-hour drinking limit. They can't have anything in their system. They're really strict on certain things, everything down to the little rivets and everything in the airplane itself.
It's very safe to say then that to even be a pilot, you are finely combed all the way through. It's a very thorough vetting process. They're not going to just let anybody become a pilot. They're going to give you psychological evaluations and health tests and whatnot. So again, that further validates these phenomenon that he experiences and other people experience with the shadow people. And so that's something to consider, most definitely. One thing I do want to say, just on a side note, you guys notice something different about the crowd here tonight? I know I do. Guess what? It's a school night. So I'm fucking happy for that. I'm very happy. I'm so proud to have my audience back, and 99% are adults that have something to say. So welcome back. J-Man, you have the megaphone. Go ahead.
Well, I am a kid. But my question is,
shit.
what are we talking about here?
Dude. Woo, that was great. Welcome to the show, J-Man. Why
Thank
are you
you.
still up? Why are you not asleep right now? Tell my audience why you're still awake on a school night. Are you sick?
My mom is in the bedroom and probably forgot about me.
J-Man, do you see shadow people at night?
No, just watch YouTube
No.
at night. Don't
You watch
focus
YouTube at
on
night?
anything around.
Okay, so you don't have any spooky experiences with ghosts
I mean-
or extraterrestrials?
I used to believe in ghosts, but I've seen scary videos of ghosts, but I just think it's like edits, and I don't think they're real at all.
You know, when I was a kid, I would do some really crazy shit. You know what I would do when I was a really little kid? I would watch horror movies by myself, right? I remember being this little shit, and I would watch like Child's Play. I'd watch The Exorcist. I'd watch these films by myself. What fucking parent would allow that for their child by themselves with no guidance whatsoever to explain what the hell they're seeing on TV? Anyway, that happened to me, and it was great. I loved it. It was awesome. I'll cry to sleep sometimes, but I couldn't help it. Like, I would just attracted to this crazy shit I would see. I don't know why. I'm a big horror fan, and I don't regret any of it, you know? So if that seems like bad parenting, it's subjective. You know, I didn't grow up to be a serial killer. I didn't grow up to be, you know, fucked up. And I've seen plenty of fucked up movies. So to have a negative impact on your psyche. But yeah, I just wanted to comment on that. I thought all the kids were asleep, man. Jasus, go ahead. You have a microphone. Jasus. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, right? Jasus. Go ahead. All right,
Looks
going
like
once,
you froze.
going twice. You know what? You figure that out, and you raise your hand up again when you have it figured out, and you come back. Ray, go ahead. Do you have the microphone, Ray?
What's up? Can y'all hear me?
Hey, what's up? Yep, we can all hear you.
Oh, okay. When I was younger, I had experience with a ghost, like for real. I was in my room, and then I had to use the restroom, but I was really scared of the dark as a kid. So I went to the restroom, and I peeked downstairs, and I seen like a flash of a light, but it was like someone was standing, but it was like a shadow, and I seen a light. So I just went to the restroom, and I went back to my room. I was really scared. Then next thing you know, I see some shadows moving like outside my door. Like my door's closed and I have like a little gap at the bottom. So I see some shadows. So then I turned my head, and as I looked back at the door direction, the door opened and closed, opened and closed. And to this day, I told my mom and my parents, but I don't think they believe me. But yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So when you had this experience, I mean, you've never had it since?
Yeah, I never had it since. That's like the first and last time.
Okay. And what do you think that was? Do you think it was a ghost? Do you think it was? I mean, honestly, do you think that legitimately this is something that you experienced as a ghost? Could it have been something else, perhaps?
I'm pretty sure it was probably a ghost.
Okay. All right. So you didn't have anybody else there that could have been doing this at all? There was no possibility that.
My parents were asleep. My parents, they're not like that. They're like chill,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, again, there's another experience, Some of this, again, is only subjective to the person experiencing it, right? But people have these experiences. That's the point, there's something there. And again, it's the shadow thing. One thing I did forget to mention is one time I had an experience that may or may not be so profound. I don't know if this has happened to anybody else, but it's only happened to me once when I was a little kid in my grandma's house where all the spooky shit happens. I remember a little kid, a little boy, and going up to go to the bathroom at midnight, whatever. And I remember walking inside, and as soon as I walked in to approach, whatever, the fucking thing flushed by itself. The handle didn't go down, but it flushed by itself, and it freaked me out so bad that I walked out, and I went back to bed and I started crying because I had to use the bathroom, but I was so scared to go back inside the bathroom. And that's something that I just popped into my head, like, wait a minute, I've had that happen to me once. And I was probably like, I don't know, man, like 8, 6, 8, I don't remember. I was a little kid. I told my mom, and she totally brushed it off. She totally dismissed this being an invalid experience of mine. But that happened. Hey, you have the megaphone. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, I mean, just going back to like the subconscious mind and stuff, I feel like your analogy of like the car, I mean, well, let's put this in like the car. So the car is your subconscious mind, right? And you don't know how to drive, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like,
yep.
Little kid, you don't really know how to drive.
Yep.
Subconsciously, I guess you could somewhat teach yourself how to drive, but like without someone to teach you, so that's your like conscious mind. Your conscious mind is your parent who's teaching you how to drive. So I feel like that's something like you can't fully drive. So that's you can't fully use your subconscious mind until you want to, I guess, and until you practice using it. So I don't. I was going somewhere with this in my head, but I feel like I'm getting off track.
I see where you're going with that, and I actually feel that I think the opposite might be true, and I'll tell you why. I don't think conscious awareness is the opposite of the subconscious. It's definitely relative. It's just not the opposite. I don't think you need to engage your conscious mind to fully be able to engage your subconscious. I mean, because children, for example, they're already in the subconscious fully without having made conscious decisions of important stuff. I think consciousness is more like the police officer that pulls you over. That's what consciousness does. Is that, you know, I mean, the subconscious is the car and the consciousness is the cop pulling you over for going too fast. Okay, so your conscious mind is going to tell you, no, this is bullshit. So the conscious mind is going to tell you, no, this is not real. The conscious mind is going to correct your subconscious and tell you this is bullshit. Again, is the conscious mind is the cop pulling you over for going crazy. A kid operating on the subconscious is going to drive crazy on the road. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. His imagination is running wild. So that's the best analogy I think I can between the subconscious and the conscious mind. So let me see. Jamie, go ahead. You have a microphone.
So about that, so you know how you're like about to get in a car crash, like if you're pulling out, somebody's behind you, your mind's going crazy if you get hit. If you don't get hit, your mind just stops and calms down. And then you never forget it for the rest of your life.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever driven a car?
No.
Good. So let's see.
But
Fallen
my mom has
Island.
been in a car crash.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad
Can you
guys
hear
are
me?
okay. Yes, go ahead.
So I know this has to do nothing with the conscious thing, but do you believe in astral projections?
I don't believe in it. I just know that it's real.
Would you say it's a taboo or a dangerous thing to mess with?
No.
I see. Well, that's pretty much all I had to
And I
ask
want
and
to
say.
ask, I'd like to ask you the same question. Do you think it's something dangerous to dabble in?
If you're not in the right mindset, then yes, it can be something dangerous to mess with.
Elaborate
Anything
for
could
me
be
for a moment and
dangerous.
just. Oh hell!
I think
drinking too much water can kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, give me an example though of some, and I can think of some myself. But you tell me an example of somebody with a dangerous mindset attempting astral projection and what the consequences could be.
Well, I've never done it. I've looked up on it. I've got interested in it. It's something. I'm not even supposed to be messing with this stuff since I'm in like a religion, Christianity, that my family put me in. Okay. And so the people that I think it's dangerous to mess with is probably depressed people, and or people who are seeking kind of like virtuality, how people run to virtuality when they're dealing with social issues. They'll probably run to that for something. And I don't know, from what I've read and stuff, is that you can't be like, you have to be in like a positive mindset, and dark mindset can get you trapped or something. I read it a little bit, but not too much into it, and I would like to know a little bit more about it.
Well, the thing I can say about you know being some of it being too dark and too light, that's like saying you can have tea, but you can never have coffee. You know, it's too dark. I don't think that's necessarily too accurate, only because if you're depressed, you have social issues, and you put on a headset, and you're able to zip it like this, excuse me, while sitting exactly where you're at. It's almost a form of astral projection, a virtual astral projection. I'm still sitting down, but now I'm right here. And the same way you dream, the experience is very similar. And if you're an introverted person, if you're a depressed person, and getting on VR helps you to break out of this shell, if this helps with depression, anxiety, if this creates a different reality for you, it's very therapeutic. And quite the contrary, in fact, if you are depressed, if you do issues, I feel that astral projection can be a wonderful way to explore another reality. Consider the fact that you are asleep half of your life. Half of your life is spent sleeping. Can you imagine when you went to sleep, not limited to, I'm just dreaming. I'll help you with that. Let's see, Mark. Go ahead. You have the megaphone.
Hello, everyone. I just woke up a couple of minutes ago. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm 43 years old, and I wanted to respond to Fallon over here. Hey, that's a friend of mine. You talked about astral projection. I guess you dream, right? Give me a yes, you dream. Some might say that when you dream, you're actually already astral projecting. You're just not conscious of it. You know, and if you dream, there's another step there which becomes lucid dreaming. And lucid dreaming can be trained. And if you do that, train that lucid dreaming, they can create your own world, you know, because the mind can do so much. But basically, you know, astral projection, some might say if you're dreaming, your consciousness leaves your body and you actually go to this wherever you go. And the dreams look so strange because we cannot comprehend what we're seeing. It's like a complete other dimension than we're used to in our 3D dimension we're living in. Another thing I wanted to say about people experiencing ghosts or whatever, know that your body, you know, mostly if you think as body as a vessel, and we are mostly energetic creatures. If you ever feel fear, just imagine a little orb of white light in your hand, and just it's imagination. It helps. Imagine a little ball of light in your hand and expand it over you. You know, just make it grow, make the light grow over you. Once you do that, you are more protected because you have that in yourself. Everybody has it in yourself to protect yourself by imagination. Everything in this world is created by imagination. Where we are now in VR, that was created because it started with a thought. And that's kind of everything I want to say about it. And I'm done. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yes, I love your question. Thank you for sharing that, Martin. Please add me if you'd like. I encourage all the people to do that. By the way, you can catch the show. It is being recorded live. Be able to see it on Leviathan, AltSpace. Look that up. Remember, like and subscribe. Share with your. It's growing. So we are out of time here, and I want to just go ahead and remind you that there's a hidden image behind this picture that you see here. In the beginning of the show, I did say that I wanted you to pick intuitively, just the first thing that came to your mind. I don't want you to kind of think hard about this. I don't want you to just, what is this? Don't concentrate. Just the first random thought, excuse me, that comes to your mind is what you're going to do. Okay, and I do this every night. And this is for fun. I want to see if there's people that can actually get within the ballpark of what can be behind this. It's completely irrelevant to the other images you see around here. I don't want to influence your thoughts. So what I'm going to try to do is perhaps project this image onto the audience. I will tell you essentially what it is. Of course, you will not hear me. But I am going to tell you what it is just for a second or two, and then I'm going to go to you guys one by one. Just feel free on the bottom right to raise your hand. You'll have one chance, one try, and just tell me what you think is back there, and again, I'll reveal what it is. So. Okay, so that, go ahead and raise your hands, and we'll go to you guys one at a time. Here we go. All right, let's see. Mena, where are you? You just raised your hand, didn't you? Let's get back over here. There we go. Go ahead, Mena. You have the phone. What do you think is... No? Yeah.
Is that a LeVay?
That is, and
but it kind of looks like the guy who plays Doctor Strange as Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey. No, that's a legitimate picture. I feel that could be a legitimate picture of Anton LaVey. But and let me clarify that the image is actually behind this image. Okay.
Oh,
the image
so I totally
is hidden. It's hidden. It's a hidden image, but that's good because that means you get a fresh start. But don't think about it. What's the first thing that comes?
Again, I see that as Doctor Strange through a Anton LaVey filter.
No, no, no. Behind, right back here. Right back here.
I'm on Oculus Go. I can't get back there.
No, you're not supposed to get back there. You're supposed to. Sorry, you're not supposed to get back there yet. You're supposed to just see what hidden image is back there. I should clarify that. There's a hidden image in the back there, and you're supposed to just essentially guess what you feel is back there. Just as a way to kind of gauge your intuitive. Let's see. Let's go with. Feel free to raise your hand again if you want to interject that. Pen, you have a microphone. What do you think?
An eye.
An eye. Okay.
Oh,
Hey,
and
what do you think?
also, you said this was recorded live.
Yes.
Could you repeat that again? Because I was having some audio problems and you were cutting out.
Oh yeah, so if you want to catch the show, you can always go to YouTube and look at the channel. It's Leviathan, AltSpaceVR, and I upload these. It takes fucking forever to do, but so far I only have the show itself that I have on there is not as great as what we have now. But I always say that it's the quality audio counts, and I'm always appreciative of the people who show up, even if it's very little. I've had this place packed many times. So again, Leviathan, AltSpaceVR. Don't forget to and subscribe. So eyes, and it's what you get. Hey, what do you think?
Some sort of net, and you're still cutting out a little bit.
Uh-oh. That's no good. No bueno. Am I still cutting out? Let me see. Testing. 1, 2. Am I still cutting out? Yeah.
I think that's fine. Wait, continue talking.
Hello? Cutting out?
Yeah, I think you're good now.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So a net. Okay, gotcha. Paulina, what do you think is back there?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Structure.
The structure. All right. Let's see. Ricky Pot, what do you think? Bob. Ricky Bobby. Go ahead and just click on dismiss there. Enable your. There you are.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I kind of pictured like maybe, I guess an astro compass, some kind of a four-pointed, like maybe almost like an anchor, something like that.
Gotcha. All right. Nice. Okay. Martin, what do you think?
I don't see a shape, but it emits something behind it. This purity, love, and tranquility, and that's the sense I get. And I'm done.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, I like that. Miles, what do you think?
Like a pie, like a pumpkin pie or something.
A pumpkin pie. Hey man, now
Or
you're
like
talking
an
in my
apple pie.
language. No, you were good with the pumpkin pie. I like pumpkin pie. All right, so let's see. Channing, what do you think?
I feel like it's something, maybe something demonic that he's writing. Like a horse.
Gotcha, like a horse. Awesome. Okay, Mena, I think you raised your hand, but let's see. Go ahead. What do you think, Mena? What do you feel? If you didn't already tell me. Oh, I think you had raised your hand and I was unable to. Go ahead.
I think it's the soul of Marcellus Wallace. Now that I think about it.
All right.
Do you get the reference? Do you get the reference?
No, I don't actually. I apologize for that. I live under a rock. You'll have to pardon me for that. I'm probably an alien and I don't even know it. Pharaoh, you did raise your hand, didn't you? And then you put it back down. I want you to, if you would like, give us your guess. What do you
I'll
think?
say it. I'll say it. I wasn't.
Sure.
I really wasn't. But I'll say this with all humor and with no malice. I see a piece of paper, and on the paper are a couple words, and it says "No proof, fraud."
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this because I think this would blow your mind. What if you were right? What if the image I have back there is of a paper and I had it's on top of another paper and it says something like this is fake or just the word fraud on there? What would you think? Because you don't know what's back there, but I do. And I'm curious because it would be kind of coincidental, wouldn't it? Be very weird and ironic if what is back there is what you just said. No shit, no kidding. I'm just curious.
I'm trying to answer you. I'm trying to answer you. And no, I wouldn't be impressed because it would just be a mentalism trick. And I could do a book test called a book test of mentalism. And it's a prediction before the hand. And I can do the same thing. So no, I wouldn't be impressed.
No. I know what a book test is and I know what mentalism can do. But here in VR, it's not really.
Yeah, it's easier. It's a lot easier.
No.
It's a lot easier. Yes, it would be. Sure it would be. Now, the answer's already out. It's easy electronically to put something back there because I said it. Now, if I didn't say it and you brought it out and you showed me before I said it and I had it in my hand, then I might be impressed with. But not this way. Not this way. This isn't the right way.
Let me give you an example really quick before we get into here. Let me show you an example. In order for me to go back there and put an image that you just said, for example, and I'm not going to reveal the methods behind this to layman's, okay, because that's not fair. But what I am going to say is if I were to go back there and put an image, this is what I would have to do. I'd have to physically go back there, and I would have to click on something like this, and I would have to align it just right here towards the edge of the screen that I know you cannot see, but I can see it. And I would click it like this. You see that? See that pumpkin? Now that is exactly where this image is going to be, this item, is going to be. Okay, it's not going to magically appear back there. I cannot put this back there unless I am already back here being able to do that. Not to mention, it would be highly difficult to write something down, take a picture of it, upload it onto AltVR, and go back here fluidly and do that trick that you're saying. I'm trying not to reveal too much, but that's essentially what you're saying I could do or what could be done. And you, sir, I have to say it's false. You cannot do that without people obviously noticing. So I just want to clarify that no, a book test, it's not easy to fool people through VR. Let me put you that way. Okay. But yeah, I still think it'd be pretty amazing if you got. Let me get rid of the fucking pumpkin. It would be amazing if you actually were right. That would be interesting, and I still think it should blow your mind if you're correct. So, Pan, I think you already went, but go ahead. What did you want to say?
Oh, I was just going to ask for the spelling of your Leviathan.
Oh, Leviathan. It's what you see in my name. Leviatha.
Oh, on my side. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So, with that said, guys, I want to say that a couple of you did actually come very, very ballpark, very close. I was very impressed with that. So I'm going to go ahead and open the stage. You guys can go back there and take a look. Go ahead.
I actually can't click on you while you're on stage.
Oh, there, now you can, because I opened up the stage. Go ahead. Yeah, there you go. Pharaoh, I noticed you're still up there. You want to come back here and look at the awesomeness? Everybody's looking at it. Yeah, you did say that. Yeah. Pharaoh, you'd be pretty impressed of what's back here, man. I'm telling you.
It wouldn't matter if you had the time, the date, me showing in my name, and what I said. It wouldn't matter because you said it already.
He's such a negative Nancy.
So it doesn't matter.
Well, it's okay. I'm not trying to convert your opinion.
If you were being honest with your audience,
Hold on, let me put you on the megaphone so we can all hear you. Hold on. Farrell, give me a second. Let me put you on the megaphone. I'm trying to put you on the megaphone so we can all hear you. Hold on. Give me a minute. No. Put you on the megaphone.
Okay.
There you go.
I said, I know you're going to be honest with your audience, and I know it doesn't say that, so it's very simple.
Gotcha. Well, thank you. So, anyway, it's the cat eyes. I put cat eyes there tonight.
I know.
And
I know you weren't going to do anything electronically. I'm just saying that. I'm saying if you had the ability to do it, then I know that you would have been dishonest, and I didn't perceive you as being a dishonest person or dishonest with your audience. I truly believe you genuine believe what you say you believe. You don't have a problem there. I'm just saying what I think is that I think for extraordinary claims need extraordinary Carl Sagan. That's all I'm saying.
No problem. That's fair. And I encourage everybody to look at different points of view. Again, we're here to exchange ideas. Again, there's no wrong answer, I feel. I think these experiences are very subjective, and they're important, I think, to explore and consider. With that said, I do want to thank you guys for coming out here tonight. You guys have been awesome. I appreciate every single person that comes out here. Don't forget to check out this video. I'm going to post it up on YouTube. Again, Leviathan, AltSpaceVR. Look for the channel on YouTube, and you'll actually see one of my silly comedy videos on an earlier show I do here during the day sometimes. Definitely not for kids. Neither one is for kids. I'm just glad the adults are finally here. So with that, I will be here again tomorrow night, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. You guys have a great night. Thanks for coming out. I'm Leviathan. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Good night.